Hello everyone, it's Jeff Rich here from the Burning Archive, and I want to make a video today about the new Russian weapon or missile system that has been announced, the Burevestnik. I'm still practicing my pronunciation of it, as well as the Poseidon missile, and not so much all the technical details of it, although they are clearly significant. The technological dimensions of it, the military dimensions of it, but rather the cultural, strategic significance of it. Because I think the real significance of these missiles is the way they reveal an entirely different set of assumptions about the strategic geography of the world and the military supremacy of the United States. That is an illusion that is falling, and if you understand, I think the word, what the actual word Burevestnik means, and its cultural significance, I think you actually get a better understanding of it. There are, of course, many, military and technological experts who are commenting on this, and you can check those videos out on YouTube. But I just want to bring out a couple of cultural and historical dimensions of this weapon and how it may affect the world. If you haven't been here before, do give us a like and a subscribe. I do talk here about world history and culture and try to shed some better quality, provide some better quality history that sheds light on current issues. And that's really what I'm going to do in this video, talking about the Burevestnik. Now, there has been some confusion about what this word actually means, and a few people have struggled with the pronunciations, as indeed have I. Now let me just get my Russian English dictionary. So here you can see my Russian English dictionary, and I will look up the word Burevestnik here in the dictionary and tell you what it means. Burevestnik, petrel or bird, a seabird. It's the kind of bird that flies almost always at sea. It only comes to land to nest, and it also is known as the stormy petrel. It's known as the stormy petrel because it used to fly near ships when storms were happening, and it has a particular way of flying very low, close to the water, indeed skimming its wings on the water, then soaring up high and coming back down. And in some ways, this is actually the nature of the flight of the new Burevestnik missile. Some commentators, I think even Ray McGovern, perhaps out of an innocent mistake, have said that this word means storm, and it does refer to a stormy petrel, but the word actually quite clearly means stormy petrel. And I think it's quite significant that we understand the way in which the bird sings, but it's more than that. It's actually also the cultural significance of this term, because there is a very famous poem in Russian literature and in Russian political history that's known as the Song of the Stormy Petrel, that is, in Russian, the Pesnya o Burevestnikia. And it's written by Maxim Gorky. Now, Maxim Gorky was a revolutionary, a sympathiser with a kind of, I don't know, a working class writer, a peasant writer from the late 19th and early 20th centuries. And he became quite famous and successful and, would have the Bolsheviks over at his apartment and that sort of thing. He was a sympathiser with the Bolsheviks before and after the revolution. But in 1901, he wrote this poem, The Stormy Petrel, the song of the Stormy Petrel, Pesnia o Burivesnikia. And the poem was written following a brutal repression of a radical student demonstration in St. Petersburg in Imperial Russia in 1901. So, if you like, it's a kind of a poem of protest, a poem of political protest, and a poem that also expresses the perception that the potential to come back and achieve victory is still there. And this comes through in the poem itself. And I think this is deeply, deeply relevant to the actual cultural significance of the weapon itself. Indeed, if you like, I'll just read you the last couple of lines of the poem, and you can find English translations relatively easy. There's a website called RU Verses, VERSES, which comes up pretty easily if you look for an English translation of Maxim Gorky's song of The Stormy Petrel. So why not do that and press the like button now, and as a recognition of perhaps the value I've offered you here. And the end of the poem goes, "The storm, soon the storm will burst. The daring stormy petrel," Petrel, "the stormy petrel proudly flits between the lightning above," soaring up high, "the angry roaring of the sea. The prophet," Prophet, "the prophet of victory screams, let the storm burst more severely." And so you can see it does, you can see the kind of connotation it has. And later on, earlier on in the poem, it says, again, you can imagine the resonance of this for the makers and the namers of the missile. "Like black lightning, the stormy petrel ascends, pierces the clouds like an arrow, plucks the foam of the waves with his wings," cruising along, literally on the surface of the ocean. "Now he bears himself like a demon, proud, a black demon of the tempest. He laughs and sobs. He laughs above the storm clouds and sobs from joy. A keen demon, he long since hears the weariness in the storm's rage. He's certain that the storm clouds will not hide the sun. No, they will not hide it." And so it goes on. So look, I won't read all the poem, but you can also sense the way in which the mode of being, the flight and the flight patterns of the petrel become a symbol. And indeed, this poem actually became a symbol for the revolutionary movement. In a way, the revolutionary movement that Maxim Gorky supported in 1901, that was growing in strength in revolutionary Russia in 1901, that would burst out in the revolution in 1905 and then subsequently, obviously, in 1917. The revolution is what is being referred to here by the stormy petrel. The stormy petrel is a metaphor for the revolution. And the song, the poem, indeed became a sort of battle song, a battle cry, a talismanic sort of poem for the revolutionary, the labour movement in Russia in the early 20th century, all the way up to 1917 and the revolution. In Russian culture, poetry is very, very significant, and it was even more so back in the early 20th century, before television, before radio, etc., etc. The oral performance of culture was very important and powerful, and it was, I guess, one of the cultural methods by which people would be bound together. So this poem was both a symbol of the revolution, but also a battle cry of the revolution. And perhaps obviously I do not know out of documents or specific knowledge of government decision-making in Russia, but I would make the reliable assumption, based on my understanding of Russian history and culture, that the people who did name the Burevestnik missile in Russia were absolutely aware of this cultural reference. They could not fail to be. Maxim Gorky is, one of the most famous writers of early 20th century Russia. He was, a kind of cultural icon in the early Soviet era as well. So there is no doubt in my mind that this poem is being referenced in the naming of the missile. And in that sense, the missile itself represents something of a revolution, doesn't it? It does represent a true revolution in military affairs. This is a weapon that has, because it has a nuclear-powered engine, it can fly for a very, very long time. It effectively can go anywhere in the world and strike from different paths. It has the capacity to hit any city in the United States of America, launched from any place within Russia, and to follow an unpredictable path that makes it difficult to detect and difficult, if not impossible, to intercept. And so it really is a game-changing weapon. But I guess when we say game-changing weapon, we need to think about, well, what is the game that changes and how does it change? And I think what this weapon, together with the Poseidon weapon, which similarly is powered by a nuclear engine and so can, in the oceans as well as in the skies, it eliminates time and space constraints on the deployment of deterrent force by Russia towards the United States and towards the Western Hemisphere. It is, if you like, a weapon that transforms the strategic geography of the globe, that eliminates the assumption that the United States is safe behind two vast oceans, that whatever the United States in the world does, there's no one who can reliably attack the homeland of the United States. It destroys the assumption of the Star Wars Space Defense Initiative and the Golden Dome Initiative that the United States can construct some kind of paladin bubble over its hemisphere that will make it immune from retaliation against nuclear first strikes or other forms of attack. Now, both the Poseidon and the Burevestnik missiles are nuclear capable, are capable of carrying nuclear weapons, but they need not carry nuclear weapons. They are also other very powerful weapons with enormous payloads that the Russia currently has, and speeds of weapons. So it's not just these two weapons. There's the Kinjal weapons, there's the hypersonic weapons, there's the Oreshnik, there's other kinds of weapons. With this weapon, the Russians, I think, and again, I'm looking around and listening to the views of more military and technological experts. But I think my read is it's a fair assumption that the Russians have moved into a whole new league of strategic arms that actually changes the nature of the military competition and the balance of forces, the nature of strategic deterrence itself. There has been some level of discussion of these weapons that even from John Mearsheimer that says, it's just a nuclear weapon, it's the same old thing. But I don't think it is the same old thing. I actually think it undermines one of the key assumptions of the United States global strategy, which is that it has impunity, that it is immune from damage, it is safe from attack within its hemisphere, and hence it can project its regional hegemony out into a global hegemony. In a way, I think that is the fundamental issue that is brought up by this new weapon, as well as all the other specific strategic things. And in that way, I think it is stripped out, taken away, undermined, shocked Americans into realising that one of their core geostrategic assumptions, that they are the regional hegemon and no one messes with America within the Americas, is actually no longer viable, that they can be attacked and they cannot defend themselves from that attack. And that attack may not be nuclear also, that the whole mutually assured destruction strategic game theory that is really the core basis of realist international relations, that whole set of assumptions is up for grabs as well. And in this way, I think it's interesting. You can compare it. I mean, I talked about the cultural significance of the Burevestnik in Russian literary culture, and the legends, the culture, the stories, the history, the mythical, poetic, mythical nature of strategic thinking is very important. When people talk about the Thucydides trap, that's what they're doing. They're evoking that sort of idea. Even the idea of a global hegemon, frankly, is a kind of myth. And what I think this set of weapons has slowly done, and the most recent announcements have been the moment where it suddenly dawned on everyone that this is the case. What it's done is make people realise that the United States of America is not the invincible warrior. It's not Achilles. Achilles had a vulnerable spot, as all people do. Similarly, the United States as an empire, as a nation, has its vulnerabilities. And it may have nuclear weapons, but it may not get the opportunity to use those nuclear weapons. There's a great story in the Mahabharata where one of the characters, Kana, receives all-powerful weapon, a spear that is impossible to prevent. And in a way, however, there's a trick, because he is given this weapon, but he can only ever use it once. Maybe the Oreshnik, maybe the Poseidon, maybe the Burevestnik have a similar curse. Maybe their problem is they can only use it once. Maybe that was also America's curse of nuclear weapons. It really has only ever used them once. It's thought about using them several more times, but the sheer horror of using those weapons, perhaps let's not debate Hiroshima, but the inappropriateness of using those weapons for the purpose that they said, cursed them. The world was appalled. And we were trapped, we were locked into this trap of mutually assured destruction. But I've sort of digressed a little bit there. But there's another story which I think is relevant here, and that is the story of Macbeth. Shakespeare's play, Macbeth. Macbeth is, encouraged by Lady Macbeth to push himself forward to indeed kill the King of Scotland, Duncan. And he's encouraged in his pursuit, ruthless pursuit of power, of global hegemony, by a prophecy by the Weird Sisters, a group of witches who say, his dominance, his global dominance, his rule will be safe. He cannot be challenged by any man or woman born, and will not be challenged until Birnam Wood comes to the hill of Dunsinane. Now, is there a man who's not of woman born, Macbeth thinks? No, there will never appear a strategic rival to the United States. He doesn't realise, of course, that his ultimate challenger is born through a Caesarean section, has a Caesarean birth. So, strictly speaking, is not born of woman, is taken from the belly of the woman. And towards the end of the play, of course, his rival cuts trees from the wood of Birnam and uses it to camouflage the appearance of his army in front of Macbeth's fort at Dunsinane, so that Macbeth does not realise they're there until the last minute. He's surrounded by an army, and he is terrified when he sees this moving forest, this moving Birnam Wood outside his fortress. And suddenly he realises that his assumption of invulnerability, his assumption of omnipotence, his assumption that he can act as violently and as ruthlessly and as recklessly and as illegally, he did after all kill the king. He was also haunted by his own guilt through Banquo's ghost and to the suffering of his wife, Lady Macbeth, who feels the remorse of what she urged him to do. But he is caught up in this bubble of unreality, this assumed impunity, this belief that it has been prophesied that he is the greatest king of Scotland that has ever been. He is the global hegemon. He is the unipolar moment. He is the impossible to take down ruler. And this is the situation, I think, that the United States has suddenly found itself in. It's also been a slow, progressive move because we've known about these weapons for 7 or 8 years. The Russian government, through President Vladimir Putin, has warned America that, these weapons are coming and you are not invulnerable. I'm bringing Burnham Wood to Dunsinane. Look out, folks, I really don't want to hurt you, but you have to realise that your assumption of invulnerability is wrong. But the sudden realisation, I think, has dawned on the United States now, following the actual test of these weapons and also the sheer technological miracle of a miniaturised nuclear reactor that means a Stormy Petrel can fly around the world and is, as Maxim Gorky said, the prophet of victory. It's screaming to America, let the storm burst more severely. I hope you've enjoyed this discussion of the, I think, broader psychological, cultural, mythological almost significance of this new announcement. Do check out some of the more technical and military kind of discussions of it as well, because it may well be, of course, that there are limitations. It may well be that this is like Kana's great spear, that it may only be able to be used in certain circumstances, and if used at the wrong time will create vulnerability for Russia as well. Myths apply for all countries, not just America. But I really do hope that the United States leadership realises that it has been trapped, just like Lord Macbeth at Dunsinane Fortress, and it ought to really change its approach in the world before it's too late, because it didn't work out too well for Macbeth after that. Thanks for watching, and do head over to jeffrich.substack.com. I've got an article there actually about the Thucydides trap that also uses the Macbeth legend as a way of understanding the sort of deeper cultural, historical, psychological dimensions of geopolitics. And I'm writing a series right now about 8 years that made Europe across European history, and I'm just about to start my world history tour of Russia. So I hope you can join me over at jeffrich.substack.com. Thanks so much for watching.